Hey everyone, this is Jared. Decided to follow up with Human Nature, Part 2, what the Count of Monte Cristo teaches us about human nature. So as we remember in the movie and the book, he is in prison for a long time. While he's in prison, he becomes suicidal, which probably I think any of us could relate. He's been there for a long time, he's depressed, he's ready to die. Tries to kill himself through starvation. After 3 days of nearly starving to death, he is starting to see light, starting to see things. He's starting to okay, here comes death. And in that moment, he hears a scratch in the wall. And in that scratch, a brief thought comes to him: is there another person? And he starts to wake up from his stupor, and he comes to a realization of hope, that there might be someone out there. There may be hope. And he discovers that it's the abbey or the priest in the adjoining room. And the joy that he feels when he finally connects with this abbey after several days is immense. He hasn't spoken to humans in a long time. He's so surprised to hear another word coming from someone else, and he describes this overwhelming joy that came from his hope that there was something more, and he had something to believe in again. So in this moment of near complete desperation, despair, he almost gave up. He found some hope. That hope brought him joy. Now, this theme kind of plays out in the book a couple of times. There's another stage later on in the book where the Count comes just in time after he's freed from prison, or after he frees himself from prison, comes just in time to find that his old boss, Morel and Sons, the old boss, can't remember his first name, is about to commit suicide himself because his bankruptcy, he's becoming bankrupt, and to honor his family name, he couldn't allow that to happen. So the Count sets up several things to happen. One is he finds a way to restore this man's misfortune by getting him another shipmate, but he doesn't tell him this, of course. He pays off his debt, but doesn't tell him this. And I'm thinking while I'm reading the story, why doesn't he tell him? Why doesn't he immediately go to him and say, look, your debts are paid, I'm going to repair your ship, you're going to have a new ship, everything's going to be fine. Instead, he doesn't. He waits till the 11th hour, and he tells this man's daughter, come see my servant, my guy here at this time, this day. And he sets up an appointment where he's in control of this man's debts, and if he doesn't pay his debts within 30 days on the dot, this hour, then Monsieur Moliere, I can't say his name right, he claims that he's going to kill himself on that moment if he doesn't have the money to pay. So the Count makes it very urgent. He says, you need to make sure you're there in time at this very moment. So at the very 11th hour, he gets the money to the daughter, who storms into Dad right before he shoots his brains out. And he returns this family that was on the brink of destruction, gives them hope again, and all of a sudden there's something to live for. And it becomes this monumental shift in the whole family that was just in despair. The son was ready to kill himself for honor. The dad was ready to kill himself for honor. And this whole family shifts from this mentality of despair to hope. So I thought, well, I wonder why the Count waited for such a powerful moment, or why he created such a powerful moment of despair. And yet again, he does it a third time later on in the book. He comes across where this young man, the young Morel, has grown up. He's fallen in love with a girl. This girl is poisoned, and you see her on the left here. This Valentine, she's with her father-in-law, who's also, well, actually, I'm not sure that's him or not, because he's supposed to be pretty much an invalid at this time. But she ends up getting poisoned herself and is nearly going to die. So Morel goes to the Count, who's become his friend, and says, I need your help. Tells him the situation. The Count says, will you hope for me? Will you hope that I can help? And will you believe in me that I can help? And Morel says, yes, I believe, I'll do it, I'll trust you. So over the next several days, the Count kind of does a Romeo and Juliet thing where he's protecting her, changing the poison out for a solution, while her stepmother keeps trying to kill her. And by the end of it, he gives her a solution that makes her appear like she's dead. And of course, we know the story of Romeo and Juliet. Romeo doesn't find out in time, and he kills himself. So Morel, he doesn't find out in time either, and he goes to kill himself again, like his father had done previously. And the Count rushes to him and stops him just like he stopped his father. And he goes to him and he says, "Look, do you have hope?" And the son is like, "You're torturing me with all this hope talk, man. You're torturing me. When do I get to end my life? I've lost my love. Everything is destroyed. Everything is gone. Please let me go." And the Count discloses who he is. He says, "I am Edmond Dantes. I am the one who saved your father. I'm the one that saved your family. Please believe in me and give me 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, if your life hasn't changed and you still want to kill yourself, I'll give you the pistols myself." And Morel is like, "I owe you my life. You saved my family." The count that they didn't know, the man that saved their family, Edmond Dantes, has become like almost worshipped in their home. They basically have a shrine for this man. So he, against his own desire to kill himself, he will not do that to displease or dishonor his family because how much they respect Edmond Dantes. So he also refuses to kill himself. And then over the next 30 days, the Count keeps telling him, "Are you willing to hope?" He's like, "What is there to hope for, man? My love is gone. My life is over." He says, "Please, just trust me. Please, just hope." And he builds this climatic scene again where he has opportunity to reunite Morel with his love, Valentine, in the 11th hour. And just as he's about to despair again and possibly kill himself, well, there's the happy ending that Romeo never had. Coming back to this theme, this happens 3 gigantic times in the book. There's other mini versions of this. The whole story shows contrast between happiness and sadness. And now, the idea here is to understand that the deeper your sorrow, the deeper your peace and joy may be. If you dig a big enough pit in your life that's full of sorrow, adversity, misery, sadness, and you have this big, big pit that's been dug. So I want you to imagine this pit of sorrow that you have in your life. And it's so empty, it's so dug out, it's so profoundly horrible in your life. And now you have an opportunity to fill it with joy. Now the Count, what he shows us is the way to start filling that hole is to hope. And when you hope, you put a little bit of power back into your life. You get a little bit more back into your life. Hope in something greater than yourself. Hope that there is a sunrise coming. And as you hope, that pit starts to fill up. And the darkness that's in there starts to leave. It starts to fill with light. And as deep as your sorrow was, it's going to be as deep, full of joy, eventually. Now, thinking of the book here, why he let it go so far. Change, when we change, it requires these big pivotal points in our lives to really stick with us. When we have that traumatic event, and then you replace it with something full of hope, or you pivot to something full of hope, it has so much more of a lasting impact on us. And we already know a lot about human nature is that if we don't have impactful moments, we're likely to just kind of stay idle or go backwards. So take these opportunities in your life that you have that are impactful. When you hit rock bottom or your pit is really deep, just switch it around and start living life with hope. So my message today is use hope as a tool. Believe in something greater than yourself. Let go of the dark in your life. And hopefully you don't have to come to the precipice like they show in the book, but I'm sure you've had many of those moments that have been just like that. Use those moments, instead of looking at them negatively anymore, look at them as an opportunity to pivot in a forward direction full of hope. Thanks everybody for watching today. If you enjoyed today's recovery knowledge, please share or subscribe below. We'll see you next time.